Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of
Doctor It Up.
I'm Dr. Fee.
I'm Dr. Bob.
Dr. Pat.
So like and follow our Doctored Up page, and please, we want to interact with you guys, so we welcome any and all comments. Thank you. Dr. Bobby, you want to talk about the benediction?
I will say, pass the plate.
Yeah, let's pass the plate.
We are Doctor It Up. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of
Doctor It Up.
Glad to have you with us today. This is going to be a little bit heavier topic. First, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Dr. Fee.
I'm Dr. Bob.
Dr. Pat.
And so the topic that is seemed most pressing in light of recent events in the news was the topic of school shootings, and we unfortunately had some tragic events occur in the last few days. And so we thought it incumbent upon us, particularly because Dr. Bob and Dr. Kat worked in that setting and had to spring into action in similar situations, that this will be a very timely and valuable conversation for us to discuss and to bring to you all. And I'm coming from education as well, higher education, but as a parent, it was very, I thought, great topic for us to delve into as well. So if you guys are ready, why don't we go ahead and get started? So what does planning for a school shooting entail? Well, can I back up for just a moment? Can I
Sure.
start a little bit ahead of that? When you heard of these recent school shootings, what where did it put you emotionally or as professionals? Where did it bring you? What place did it bring you to?
It was daunting. First thing, what I always think about is the experience we had. So as soon as I find it happen, I have questions. Because my question is always, how did it done? It makes me think back to, because I worked in like, what, 6, 7, 8 schools? Quite a few. I was trying to find what it was. But I've been in a bunch of school districts. And so when you go through it everywhere you go because it's something we do. Now the school shooting thing became more prevalent in my later years in education, because before then we were always doing tornado drills, we were always doing fire drills,
Right.
the duck and cover type thing. We always just evacuating the building and things, but for the most part, when there's a school shooter, you don't evacuate right away, But we did that as well. But for me, I remember going to high school growing up, and we always had a metal detector, always. But when I became a teacher, every school I worked in did not have one. It was more, like I said, you saw it more so in middle school and high
Sure.
school, but not in elementary. That needs to change. We can talk about that later. So I think about that. I immediately think, oh, they must have metal detectors. Or where was the SRO?
What is SRR for the people who don't
Student
know?
resource officer.
The cop on
I'm
campus.
sorry, school resource officer,
Yeah.
not student, sorry,
Yeah.
school resource officer. And then sometimes they are not necessarily actual police officers,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
sometimes they are.
Yeah.
Because I know in some counties they actually use their off-duty firefighters and stuff like that. So it can be different things.
Sure.
But for the most part, from where I worked, they were actual police officers or deputy sheriffs. I mean, in Rockdale, they were deputies. And then in the Atlanta Public Schools, they were actual APS. But as we just came from Colorado, it was a mixture, right? Some of them had background in the actual police department, some didn't. But still, I like to say, that's the first thing I think. Where are the SROs? Where was there a metal detector? Because my number one thing is how did it done? And that's what's scary to me, because we think about our staff and students dying, but the admin are usually on the front line.
Yeah.
We're the ones who have to go figure out what's going on. We have to research the buildings. We have to jump in and action too. So I think about everybody.
All the moving parts.
Yeah, and it immediately gives you flashbacks to the times that we had I've had situations where it was actually happening.
Sure.
And I've had situations where
It was a threat.
it was false, but
Yeah.
we jumped in and the adrenaline kicked in, and it still feels the same. And then immediately after that, you're on guard.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get into that.
Dr. Bob,
So
what
that's
did?
how
Oh, thank you, Dr. Kat. Dr. Bob, when you heard of these recent school shootings, where did it take you emotionally, mentally?
Well, initially, my heart went out
Of course.
to the families, and not just the ones who were injured, but to all of those families for whom they had kids in that building. Because the moment you hear that, you don't get the full details. You just know that at your school, at the school where you dropped your child off this morning, someone or some people got shot.
Yeah.
So you immediately think the worst. As a parent, you need to know about your child or your children. Many times, one parent may have multiple kids in that building.
Yeah.
And you can imagine how that may be an immediate shock, immediate emotional strain on them. And they're going to immediately call the school, like every other student, parents in the building. They're going to call the school.
They call the school because the kids immediately text them.
Of course.
The kids text them immediately. And the thing is, even when the school doesn't know what's going on, like we don't know in real time where the person might be or if the threat is real or not. We're still investigating. They're consistently texting their parents.
Right.
They should. I mean, it's an automatic defense. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it.
It's very natural, yeah.
It is natural, but think about it. You're a parent and you're getting these texts and you're asking them questions and they can't answer. They're calling school. We can't answer because we're doing what we need to do.
Right.
It's just a constant pandemonium of. And then if you're a parent that works far away, you're like, should I start? Should I be on my way? Should I? Or should, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, everybody goes into that stressful mode. Yeah, the students immediately start texting.
So you can imagine with parents in an uproar and they're worried about their children. And then the moment the staff hears, look, we got to go on lockdown. This is not a drill.
Yeah.
Now they're upset.
Yeah.
You got to ensure that as a school leader, as a former school leader, you have to remain calm and then go through the protocols. You have to know what those protocols are so that you can react through those things.
Yeah.
Because your heart and mind is with the parents. Your heart and mind is with the students. Your heart and mind is about this situation that is currently unfolding. And then your heart and mind is with the staff and the teachers. You have to be responsible for all of these people and all of these moving parts. And if one part of your system breaks down, you have to immediately identify that part, rectify the issue, and ensure that everyone is safe.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes to the degree to where you neglect personal safety to ensure everyone else is safe.
Yeah. And I wanted to be, you want to spring into action, but you got to stop. You got to call everybody. And we have to call every building at once. You know what I mean? And then you make the announcement, and you're in panic mode, but you can't sound panic because you got a bunch of students, you have a bunch of teachers.
You know what it put me in mind of?
And so I had to write it down because I knew I wouldn't remember. I had to literally pick up my sticky note and read it and put it down. The whole time I'm like,
just what you're saying, it put me, and as you both were talking, it put me in mind of a pilot when they're, or even the crew, when they have been trained to the hilt for what to do in whatever scenario jumps off. And the human part of you obviously you're fearful, you're wanting to, keep everything under control and everything. But when you hear those playbacks of like what the crew is saying and what I'm always so impressed because they have to be inside internally,
going crazy.
And you want to default to what your human nature is telling you to do, but you have to follow the protocols to keep everybody as safe as possible so that you can get to the objective, which is to, so that's what it put me in mind of. And so I'm really, the questions that came to my mind when we first started talking about having this discussion were, well, what are the protocols across the board? Are there like national standards or this is district level standard? Like, okay. So I wondered about that. And
ever since Columbine, the nation has awakened to this very possible threat. And they have developed protocols nationally that they encourage states and local schools to adopt. But obviously, not every building is exactly the same.
Not every leader is the same. Right?
Exactly. Not every leader is the same. Not every circumstance is exactly the way the national government pictured it. So you have to look at the protocols and adapt them many times for your situation, for your school. So I was in a school where we had like 20 exit doors in the buildings, in the various buildings and sections of the building. And you have to monitor each of those doors because either one of them could be the avenue in which your threat
Yes.
enters the building.
Yeah.
And you think about that even when it's not an active threat.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
We used to have our fire drill. And even when we didn't, if I'm walking by, I'm walking the building, and then I go out the building, because the last place we were, kind of like a college campus, we had different buildings, but they all connected. And once you have access to one, you're able to
You're
go throughout
in.
all of them. Even though you've been walking for a while,
Yeah.
but you can access all of them. So that was scary to me. So I actually walked out onto the area where we would go into the field, and do our fire drills. But I remember coming back in, and we were not doing the drill, and the door wasn't pulled. My heart started going, because I've been in situations where people just enter your building, then my heart started going. I'm like, get this door fixed, And so we're running around, we're calling people, everybody running around trying to get the door fixed, like immediately. It can't be that thing, we're going to wait till tomorrow, we're going to call, we're going to get a bid.
Right.
No, you get this door fixed now, or we lock it down, because we know it's always a threat. And before it's been in Colorado, to me, we was on even more high alert because of Colorado. And when we get into the discussion of how to, more so how to prepare, I think they actually did a good job. They put another level to it that I hadn't seen before I got
I will say, you can't over prepare yourself for it. You can't overtrain for it.
Yeah.
You have to go through it. You have to train so much to where your reaction is just that. It's the reaction, and you don't have to think about it.
You're always on.
It's just like, to me, I related to my training that I had in the military.
Yeah.
When I'm being shot at, I know it. I got my weapon, I hit the ground in prone position. I'm aiming in the direction in which the round came from. I'm ready to put some rounds down range. And it has to be just that automatic, so that your emotions don't get in the way of you doing the right thing in that moment.
Thank y'all for that. I was very interested to know what y'all felt, and because I know what I felt just as a parent.
Now.
Yeah, I would imagine. I can only imagine. So, moving on to what the original first question was, what does the planning for and preparing for a school shooting entail? And I know that's probably very loaded, but
it is.
So where do you start?
Well,
okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
We've done it together a lot.
Yeah.
I'll let you go, then I'm gonna fill in if you miss something.
There's a pre-planning for anyone who cares about themselves and others. It's on your mind before you get to the table. And in fact, Dr. Cat and I have worked together in so many situations where it's like that's what we talk about at night, the night before the meeting. It's always on our minds. And when we roll across something, we add that into the mix. Like, for example, the door, when she checked the door and it wasn't working properly. We got to get that done right now. So in my mind, I'm thinking, man, we got to have 2 to 3 people on call. We got to have at least 2 to 3 companies that we can call on to fix this door, because it has to happen now. We can't accept, I think I can get by there tomorrow.
Right.
We can't accept that.
Because if we know it's broke, a kid knows it's broke. Somebody knows it's broke. And I think with the cell phones and the social media right now, because when we get into that, we'll talk about that, but a lot of our threats that we found out about were already on social media. Before we even knew what was going on. It's like you're texting people, but you're putting it on your Snapchat. And I'm like, so that whole thing, because we know immediately, my whole thought process is, we know, the kids know. And if they were looking for opportunity to do what they want to do, because everything is not about shooting up everybody because I'm just mad at the world. Sometimes I got one person I want to get, and I can't get to them, but I know somebody on the outside that I can have come in. Oh, this door is open. So, I can call my cousin now and be like, hey, this door is open. I'll meet you over here at this time, because that happens a lot too. We're going to get into that. And so it's more so than a threat of the whole school. Sometimes it's a threat of one person, and that doesn't matter. It's still a threat of that one person. And once a gun starts shooting, you don't know who it's going to hit. You don't know if it's an experienced shooter or not. So again, it becomes, that thing. And so immediately I'm like, this door is open. Therefore, everybody's going to know about it. And so everybody's going to see opportunity. Okay, go ahead, because there's another part that comes into play.
So all of that pre-thought before you come to the table. And then when you get to the table, you have to throw out scenarios on top of scenarios. One, you want to review the protocols you already have, and then you want to explore what is. Then you want to explore the latest thing that has happened, because in our last work environment in Colorado, There were school shootings like weekly.
There were always a threat.
Weekly,
There was always a threat.
That
yeah,
is
and
incredible.
even if it wasn't a shooting, it was always somebody had a gun.
Gun on
Somebody
campus.
had a knife.
Yeah.
You know, it was always something. And even if it wasn't a shooting of the whole school, sometimes the kid, because we could get into that, how they just got to the front of the building and got searched and shot when they were getting searched.
When
Wow.
they were
They
getting
took
searched.
that as an opportunity.
Wow.
So the protocols were there, the detectives, the SROs, everybody was there.
Yeah.
But the kid knew that one of them was not going to be there that day.
Mm-hmm.
And took that was like, okay, when they take me into this room and they search me, I'm going to get
That's
them
what
in.
I'm
And
gonna
that's
do.
how it went down.
Mm-hmm.
And once that happens, everybody's alerted on. So like in Colorado, all the metro areas, we have to send out a letter to the parents letting them know. Whether it, like happened at our school or not, and I'm sure that happens here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Not
Because
like
in
I don't hear from
Colorado-
other districts,
Well,
but
see, we did.
I'll hear
We
from
did.
like
We
my
did.
my daughter's
Colorado, and they
district.
told
Yeah.
us to send a letter out to everybody. We were like, we don't do that.
Yeah, I've
And they
never
were like,
heard.
No, you got to do that.
Mhm.
And so either you put out your own letter, or you go see somebody else's letter, you copy and you put it out, or you put out the district letter, neighboring you, but everybody had to put something out.
Yeah.
That was new to me, and it was even more than a shooting at school. If it was a shooting of a club, anything to deal with the youth or deal with the at-risk or deal with the protected community like LGBTQ, if anybody was shot up, that you had to let everybody know. And even as a school, we're informing about something happening in our community.
Yeah.
It had to be done, which I think is an excellent protocol.
I did too.
Before,
I
like
did too.
I said, it was next level when I was.
As a parent, if I had a kid in a building that was under an active shooter alert, I would want as much information as I possibly can as soon as I can. So that is something you have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
How can you get this word out to your constituents, your stakeholders in a complete and rapid fashion? And it's difficult because when do you have all of the information? You don't really get it until days after the event has taken place.
Even
So
within the day, you don't
difficult.
have it till the event is pretty much over.
No.
But everybody wants you to inform them in real time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not how that happens, and then they get upset about it.
Yeah.
So we have to think about that beforehand as well, and say, hey, when we figure out if this is really happening or not, when we basically make sure that we dismantle it, and we do a full investigation and finally can say, okay, this is no longer an active threat. Now we're going to, because it doesn't matter if it's actually happening or not, or actually happening or not. Once parents get upset and feel some kind of way, they want to lay eyes on their kids, they want to touch them. Not every parent, but a majority do. So we already know. Okay, they heard about this. Go ahead and set up a protocol for kids to go home because they're going home.
Yeah.
And even though they know nobody got shot, no, it did not happen, they're like, I'm coming to get my kids.
Absolutely.
Because why? The students sometimes are like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Because it is a real situation.
It's a
So
real
they
thing.
immediately start calling, parents start coming, and then we start immediately getting the protocol ready to get them. Well, in this amount of time, you got the parents who are not going to come, who are like, well, what's happening? What's going on? We cannot give you false information.
Right.
We cannot give you misleading information or even half the information because you're going to come back and call us on that too. And we don't want to start pandemonium. But what we do, make sure we communicate directly, is there is no longer a threat.
Yeah.
Your children are safe. So if you want to leave them, leave them. If you don't, that's fine. You can come and get them. But parents, and not all parents, but a lot of them stay in that threat mode.
Yeah.
So they've shown up knowing that there's no threat, but are like, give me my child.
Yeah.
And so we got to anticipate that in the planning mode as well. It's like, okay, well, as soon as we know, what do we do with the parents? All right, keep kids in the classroom. But But we think about that too. Like, oh, that was a threat. Make sure you know parents are coming. So we got to jump into motion on that too. And that's every secretary, every clerk. You know what I mean? The attendance clerk, like everybody has to jump in because they know now that we finally can go. Nothing is happening. All right, we get ready because here comes the onslaught.
Yeah.
And you have so many more students than you do staff members. And then some students want to break protocol as well, and they don't want to wait to be called.
Right.
They don't want us to, wait till we identify the parent and make sure this person has a license that says this is the person to pick you up. They need to be on the list to pick you up.
Yeah.
You can't be like, go get my child and go get the neighbor child too. No, ma'am, we don't know you.
No.
That may be your neighbor, but I need to see an ID. Or I'm coming to pick up my niece. Are you on the list?
Are you on the
list?
list?
You can't have your niece. You know what I mean? And so that's happening while everybody else is in line waiting.
Mm-hmm.
So they're upset. And so we have to get that protocol going too. Now, mind you, it might be the situation, and most time it is, they know it's not correct, but everybody's just mad at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all ain't protect our kids.
Yeah.
Here we go again. How this happen again? You know, and so we have to think about that. We're frazzled. Because I know we're going to talk about our last situation, but we're in the library together, and he's trying to calm people down. I'm like, go back upstairs, because the parents are like, I'm out here. So the kid, instead of waiting on the teacher first to call and say, hey, so-and-so parents here, and then the person goes to their room and say, your mom is here, let me walk you down, they just take off.
Yeah.
They come down, and because we were a big campus, we had elementary, middle, high all together, then I got my so then you run down there to elementary, you can't do that, because now you're missing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that goes on. And mind you, you spend the majority of your day doing that with a threat that's not happening anymore, but you got the whole police department in there still trying to get admin to give them a conversation.
Yeah.
Still trying to now, if the suspect or whoever it is not on campus, now they got to go talk to those. All this is going on while the parents are crowded outside and upset, and then the kids are not cooperating either. It's like total pandemonium, right? But the pre-planning is the reason why we have it together. Mm-hmm. No, don't let nobody go. Lock it down. Close the room. Don't do this. Get out the hallway. No, they can't go to the restroom unless you walk them there. Okay, you stand in the hallway because you're not doing anything right now. Stand in that hallway. The kid got to go. You walk them there, you walk them back. Because we got to constantly keep track of these kids, because you never know. Yeah. And it just, but again, that's in the pre-planning as well.
Yeah. So we talk about pre-planning. A lot of people don't even know we pre-plan even during the summer.
Sure.
Because when they register, I need you to put anybody's name on your student's registration who may come and get this kid. Because in the case of an emergency, if they're not on the list,
they're not going.
Your kid cannot go.
Well, this brings to mind a question for me as a parent. So, and I was thinking about this last night, thinking about some questions that I would just have just as a layperson, as a parent. So there's a lot of pre-planning, clearly. There are a lot of protocols from every level of, government, I'm hearing now.
Mm-hmm.
How much of this are parents privy to prior to? And here's what, I know parents don't read every little thing, or they don't familiarize themselves. I've been guilty of it. So it seems like when these situations arise, the parents are kind of in the dark about what happens.
There's only so much we can say, because we cannot give you the plan.
No.
Yeah.
It's a safety issue in that alone. All you need to know is we have a protocol to keep the kids safe. We're going to give you the information as we can.
Right.
So that means we have like the robocall.
Mm-hmm.
We have, because they get that robocall.
Sure.
You get robocall. We have different platforms where you can get emails and special alerts. We have, and then we have certain ways. Well, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so tell us to say, just know that we're going to communicate with you as soon as we can. And we're going to make sure we communicate clearly to the public, which might be the news, which might be, the police department, because a lot of them become our spokesperson during that time. And then while we're handling this, they get out and they're the one in front of the camera. Usually it's not us. You'll see like the police chief or somebody like that out there, or a detective or whatever. They'll be out there talking. So just know that we're going to communicate it to you, and we're going to be first to communicate to you if we're safe or not, and communicate to you when and where you can go pick up your child. That's where it's going to end on the first day.
Well, so I'll say this, for me as a parent, I've never heard that much from the schools and the districts that my daughter has been enrolled in. I've never heard that much, even that. But I think I have a fair amount of common sense. My assumption would be that there are protocols, that you all are working things, but for a parent that doesn't know, and for them, this is the first time they've ever even thought about a school shooting. I can understand why. It depends on the district.
Way more prepared than
others. I can believe that.
It depends on who you're asking.
But I think as parents, I think for those that are just in the dark about all of it, that's what brings just an added layer of panic when these things potentially jump off, even if it's a threat that's not realized.
The best thing to do would be, if that situation is going on, because we have everybody on our threat on our team, our safety team, right? So because we have a whole other team that's a threat assessment. That's another way that we try to be proactive, and that's in our planning too. There's a threat assessment team where we can kind of identify those students who are probably going to be the issue. Okay, so now I have to say, you'll have the person who knows that they need to be able to be ready to communicate how we're going to. So that might be in the form of a I think everybody does robos,
Yeah.
but I don't think everybody uses it for that. So you may not ever get a phone call.
Right.
You know, there might be an email that goes out that shoots out to every parent, right? There might be another phone. What's the dojo? Class
Yeah.
dojo.
Class dojo.
You know, you might
yeah.
get it that way. But it's going to be very simple. It's not going to be any details at all. It's just going
Right.
to say threat has been
Identified.
yes, and that there's no longer a threat.
Yeah.
Your kids can remain at school. Because what we're hoping is you don't come up here. If the threat is, but I know how parents
Yeah.
are. You know what I mean? It's like, and you have every right to feel how you want to feel about it. But you be like, I don't trust you. I'm going to get my kid. Well, come get your kid.
Mhm.
But we're letting you know you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So you might not get a message saying, hey, this is how you come pick them up. Because they're hoping you don't even come pick them up, you know.
It's usually the children, like you said, are reaching out
But
To the
without
parents.
without the
Mhm.
information
because
they need.
right.
Yeah.
Because if my daughter and
So now you got questions. You're like,
The
"Baby,
shooting-
I'm talking to you
well,
no
the
more."
shooting wasn't even here,
You
right?
called school.
But after the shooting that happened, this past week, the next day, it was on a Thursday, I believe.
Yeah.
The next day, my daughter, they do the grapevine thing. The kids are talking,
Mhm.
and now, well, we heard such and such. Somebody might, and so now, and my daughter did not want to go to school Friday,
Well, and I
Yeah.
will say this too.
and I had to really weigh that and pray about that. Like, well, Lord, and so it was a thing.
You know it was because remember here in Georgia, because we're in Georgia if you didn't know.
Yeah.
And so all that happened here, they said it was going to happen at 5 schools.
Mhm.
And so my first thought process was 5 schools win. They
Right.
didn't say 5 in one day.
Right.
And I'm still sitting on that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because I had this conversation with you, I was like, well, now this is one boy in one school. Is he a part of a group? Is he a part of? Does he have any kind of communication with other people who are willing or wanting to do this? So for all we know, he's the first. Or maybe they threw off the 5 to kind of, have some kind of a ruse so that we wouldn't focus. You know what I mean? Or we start focusing on the 5 and not see the 1 coming.
Mhm.
And we
Right.
even talking about that.
Right.
I haven't heard anything since about that. I need to know.
Well, see, one of the problems that we have with school shootings is this new term that we call swatting,
Yeah.
Mhm.
where we call in a fake alert on a school or a place and then have the police to go out there and do something,
Right.
So a lot of schools receive swatting alerts because kids are putting on social media, they're putting out there in different channels that something's going to happen at that school.
Right.
So now you got to call all the police in and have them on alert. You got to have your staff on alert.
Yeah.
And really, you hate to tell your kids that because they're going to get upset.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to kind of be more vigilant and watch them closer so that you can easily get them to where they need to be in the event something really does happen.
Yeah.
And you don't want the swatting to go down because, and that happens a lot after something actually does happen.
Yeah.
Because that's how we had the, I don't know, maybe number may have gone up, I don't know, but I know here in Georgia we had 19 other students from other districts that ended up having to be arrested and going to juvenile because they were, just basically making false threats.
On social
And
media
they were
other.
saying it because, I didn't want to go to school.
Yeah.
This is not a joke.
Yeah.
You know what I
No,
mean? It's not
far
a joke.
from it.
But
Far-
some
yeah.
kids don't understand. You know what I mean?
Sure.
All they saw was, we get to be evacuated, or we get to be out of school.
Mhm.
And then if they really think it's a problem, then the next day we don't have to go either. All that because a lot of students are very present minded.
Mhm.
They're not thinking about repercussions of what may happen tomorrow. They're like, we get to get out of school, let's go ahead and make it happen. Well, now that's a criminal offense.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them, and as they said, out of the 19 students, 13 of them were arrested, and they are in the same juvenile facility as as Coach, the one who actually did the shooting, right? Of course, they know all the evidence, you know what I mean? They took it seriously, and I think that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Because you start pandemonium. Now, what if you got all this swatting going on, and there is something going on?
Mhm.
So now you got everybody dispersed trying to
Right.
handle these false threats, and then there's a
There's a
it's
real
a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I do think the way to handle that is what we're doing. You're going to be arrested,
Yeah.
and and if you're the right age, you're going to be arrested.
Yeah.
So that's one way of looking at it. But going back to the parent thing, I would say you're only going to get the bare basic information.
Yeah.
That's it. And just know that. Now, if you hear that the threat has been, we have assessed the threat and found that it wasn't one, and you decide within yourself, I want to come get my child, go get your child.
Yeah.
Now, if your child the next day say they don't want to go to school, that is a parental decision to make. But I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of kids don't deal with that well. and it may emotionally disturb them.
Yeah.
And going to school the next
Mhm.
day, that may be hard for them. That's why usually in schools where it actually happened, they go ahead and close for the next day,
Mhm.
or even a little while longer until maybe a week or so. But in schools where it didn't happen, it's still scary because
It
the
is
thing
scary.
is, this is not something that might happen. It has
It
happened.
has
happens.
happened.
And could
Yeah.
happen.
And it will happen again.
It's going to happen within over and over, even though it may not be in your school in particular, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Which that is a real threat. And
Mhm.
every kid can't deal with that. Just
Yeah.
like every adult can't do that. So yeah, if I were you, you would think about, do I want my child to sit in this fear?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because that's one thing I would think about. And then on top of that, it's also like, okay, I need to at least get them a day to
Yes.
So you know what I mean? But I would just say, don't let them sit in it, because just like these school shootings that happen, they happen at work too. People are shooting up their jobs.
Absolutely.
People shoot up malls. They shoot up churches.
Movie
they shoot up
theaters.
Walmart.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So it's like, are you going to shelter yourself from all of that?
Right.
So yeah, if you need time to process. But I would encourage you not to continue to sit in it, because with the law, you got to go to school. So
Mhm.
that's,
I would say talk to your child, talk to your children, let them know this is serious. And yes, I want to hear from you, but I need you to stay as calm as possible. I need you to only give me facts. Don't put in, well, I heard
Mhm.
it was 15 people,
Yeah.
they had
Do you hear
machine guns.
gunshots?
Yes.
what are your teachers saying?
Yeah.
Do they have y'all against the wall? Because we have the protocols in
Yeah.
place where once we get on the announcements and we let them know what type of threat,
Mhm.
right? There might be a soft lockdown, might be a
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
lockdown. When you know if it's soft or hard, that you know if they're inside, outside, how big the threat is.
Yeah.
And we know with the hard lockdown, everything locks down. Nobody moves. You can't go to the restroom, can't go to the locker. I don't care if you're walking in the hallway and you're on your way to it. I don't care. You see that kid, you pull them in your room.
Mhm.
They don't get to make it down the hallway to where they're supposed to be, because we lock everybody down.
Yeah.
From there, we decide who's in our room, who we have accountability for. But when it's an immediate thing, like whenever so there's a code that we use when we get onto the announcement. I'm not gonna say what it is, because to me, kids shouldn't know what that is either.
Yeah,
but we
I
get on
agree.
announcement, we say a certain thing that teachers know, and it sounds nothing. We don't be like, I remember when I was in Texas, and we were my first year of teaching. We used to say, get on announcement, say, Jesse James is in the building. Jesse James, you know what I'm saying? We knew that meant
Lock it down.
right?
Yeah.
The kids didn't know who Jesse James was,
Yeah.
but we knew. When I got to middle school, we used to say, hey, paychecks are early. It was really something
Yeah.
that's out the blue.
Yeah.
And we knew we ain't getting paid early. Maybe once a month. Paychecks are early. Man, and when teacher heard that, all
Yeah.
that you would just go to your door, click,
Yeah.
and then you would just go back and you would start, But after we said paychecks was early, the next threat or whatever, the next thing that came on will let you know whether to lock it down completely or to unlock your door.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if we heard the right thing, we'd immediately be like, all right, students, I need you to get up, close your mouth, get over to the wall. We would get over to the wall, because, schools are kind of made a little differently now. Now we know how to build our schools, but you have to get over to the wall, because we usually have mirrors in windows in our doors.
Mm-hmm.
And if the person, the shooter, whatever, because they don't have to necessarily be shooters, right? But if they're looking for somebody, they will look in the door, and they have to put it so all the students cannot be seen and we cannot be seen. So we will look. So we used to do the thing where you would block your door, where you would cover your window.
Yeah.
But they kind of went away from that, which I don't think they should, but they did. They went away from that. So you didn't necessarily have to have your windows covered, but we would cover our windows so somebody came looking, you can't see us. But when they stopped covering the windows, then we had to get over to the far side to where if they're looking for us, they could not see, right?
Yeah.
So that was a thing. That we had to do. But anyway, saying all that to say, yeah. So it's levels to it, but we did have certain sayings that would only teachers would know and students would. So if your child is texting you and you say, well, what did the teacher say?
Yeah.
If the teacher is calm and didn't do much as far as, but only, maybe they locked the door or something like that. But if the teacher's not telling you to get up and move,
Right.
then that means nobody is actively in that.
Yeah.
Building. I'm going to assume, and I don't know, because you did send us something with more details about the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it really went into what was happening in the building, because again, it's going to come out later.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm going to assume they said something about a hard lockdown, because you literally probably heard those shots.
Mhm.
And then everybody got up and everybody moved over to the side and closed,
Yeah.
But we need to get into the well, it's more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys. So,
I would say kids probably don't know what's going on. They don't maybe tell you a little bit. The teacher's not going to say much because we don't want to call.
We've been kind of alluding to it, but I just want to call it out that when we do our planning for these types of scenarios, there's planning for the before, there's planning for the during, and there's planning for the after. So that we can get, if we have to, so that we can get through that situation.
Because
with as
we're
little issue
relieving
as
people as
possible.
well. Because think about it, you got everybody in their rooms, they're waiting, right? And so we would tell the teachers, lock your doors and don't open them, right? And then the only person who can relieve you is an admin or police, right? In a lot of situations, it'd be just the police. But we include ourselves as well because we have the key. So you can unlock your door. So if somebody comes jiggling your door, that could be the perpetrator. It doesn't necessarily have to be us. So no jiggling of the doors. You hear that, don't go running toward the door, and don't let your students go through that because I've heard that happen as well. You wait. If we're gonna let you out, we're gonna let you out. You're gonna let yourself out, and you don't let nobody in.
No matter what you hear, no matter what you see.
You have a key. If they ain't got a key, nobody moves, right? But we've had, teachers to be like, you want to look outside. If you lost your mind. But you just never know. And so when you talk about your planning, you plan for people making the mistakes too. So you automatically say, hey, this is the behavior in the room. This is behavior after. This is behavior while you're waiting. Can they go to the restroom? No. But they will ask you that. You know what I mean? Well, can they do this? Can they do that? They want to check on their siblings. Man, nobody's moving. And why are you talking? Don't talk. Nobody on cell phones. Nobody, not even the radios, because the radios let the perpetrator know where we are. I mean, I say you have to lock it all down. Because that's different when we're having a tornado drill. You better be on the radio.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Even a fire drill. But when someone else is now going to breach our communication, we have to know how to move with each other.
Right.
And that's when we do our cell phones. We can get on our cell phone and do little things like that. But we're not texting those people. We're not even doing that unless, God forbid, be outside their door. That's totally different.
That's different.
I mean? But we ask people to stop communicating because we don't want the message to get, and we have to communicate with each other. But just so you know, we drill it down to even that. You know what I mean? We drill it down to the color of our cards. You know, if you got a missing child, we don't want to see that red in your window. Don't cover your window because now you got to put a color there. And so we can see, okay, nobody's hurt, but somebody's missing. Or somebody's hurting. So that's those another color. That's something else.
Okay, so as a parent, hearing all this now, talking to you guys, it's reassuring that you all or that districts and schools are planning to that level and that nothing's really left to chance. Now,
because after every time we do the drill, and especially when something like this happens, we do even more drills. When we were mandated to do a certain amount every month, tornado, fire, and
just safety drills.
But we step it up when something like that happens, especially when it's close, because we want to also reassure the community and parents that we're doing even more. And because every time we have a drill, we realize something else we need to work on. If it's not the teachers or the students that are messing up the plan, because that does happen, or admin, because everybody does it, we'll figure out, we didn't think about this. We think about our students who have disabilities, you know what I mean, where they're going to be. We think about who's absent that day, because we have teachers who are absent, we have subs, so now we're like, when subs come in on this day, give them the plan automatically. They got to know what to do. When the subs come in, they got to have a role automatically. Little stuff that breaks down during the day, that's a basic thing. We're like, cannot happen, because we'll have a drill where we didn't think about it. And then we'll be like, well, these students were missing. They had a sub today. We're like, so now we know from now on, starting the next day, when the sub comes in,
they have to have that protocol.
But we don't know that until it happens. So the more you practice it, the better. So if you find that, and I would say this as a school, as a community, or even as a, what they call it, something else now. PTO, whatever. The parent council, committee or whatever. It's PTA. So whoever that is, when you find little things happening, like you say, hey, I feel like they need to have more drills on this, and I don't think they're having that, then that's something you push toward the admin. You say, hey, we need to have more of that, because I'm telling you, you're never fully prepared, and there's always going to be a breakdown every single time. And it might be minor, but it's going to be something, and that minor thing could be good. Because I remember, I just remember little things happening where a kid would be like, well, that side door over there, what? What do you know about that side door? I can just dump this fence and I can go under what? So hey, go look at that. And so now that's something else we gotta add because now that's another way to get in that admin and teachers didn't even know about, but students know about. You want to kind of listen. You want to have this conversation with students. You want to kind of tell them what the plan is as much as you can. Just to make sure that everybody's all in because our front line is really our students.
Yeah.
And they be telling us stuff that you're like, what? And as long as you have communication with them and kind of let them know, well, y'all, this just happened, and kind of be brief about it. You have the counselors go around and talk about it. Then they start giving us more information and we can be more prepared. Because the kids probably know more than the parents know as well because they go through our drills with us.
Yeah.
So you should ask them that too. Say, hey, when y'all had these drills, what the heck y'all doing?
Yeah.
And let them tell you that. Well, we get over to the side and they told us don't speak.
Yeah, that's a great point. I
will
will be doing
say during that time, take it serious because we come by room and kids are playing around, they're on their phones, they're loud, and we're like, if something would have happened, that person's gonna know come right here because y'all making all this noise. Y'all thinking it's
I don't see y'all, but I hear you.
Practicing for the real thing. It's not a joke, and a lot of kids say that it's a joke. That is the scariest thing to me. I'd be so upset when I see that. Because first of all, and you can't necessarily blame the teacher. Sometimes it is an issue when they don't have classroom management. But sometimes it's like, have y'all sat them down and say, y'all know this could be real, right? You know that you're putting everybody in jeopardy. Not just you, but everybody in this room, everybody down the hallway, because now they hear this noise and they're coming to us.
Yeah.
What if they coming to us and then there's just a little movement over here and now they go to them? Like, to me, those are the conversations we have with students. And I can't say that those things are not happening, but I haven't seen that happen a lot. I haven't seen a real sit down, heart to heart, like, okay, how do y'all feel about this? All right, so you see what we had in place, right? Especially like older students. You see what we had in place. How do you think we can fix that? How do you think we can prevent that? Because kids are on the inside, and they know stuff we don't know. I think that's a piece of the puzzle that's not happening.
It brought a question to mind earlier. To your point, who's all at the table when this planning is happening, and who's weighing in because sometimes. If it's just leadership, well, you only have a certain perspective. If it's the teachers as well, I have the classroom perspective.
So we have
the students,
just to give you an idea, we have administrators, we have teachers, we have nurses, we have counselors, we have the district police, front office staff, we have the city police. There are so many people at the table to where you get a good, well-rounded perspective on what's going on. If we don't have a parent on staff who has a kid in that building, then we'll get a parent rep.
Right. So we gotta have parent input. Sure. But we always do have parents in the building.
Yeah,
we
makes
kind of
sense.
have them in. Yeah, they weigh in. And it's like, people really don't.
Thank y'all. That was great. So insightful. And again, we're colleagues and then we're on this pod together, but I'm really a student right now and just learning because this is information I've never heard before, and my daughter's in high school. So to get to this point, and when all this stuff really jumped off Columbine years ago, when it was to really kind of set the tone for it, changed the game for school shootings in this country. And so obviously, my daughter, what year was that? Yeah, we still in high school.
A year for that.
It was a long time ago. Well, I mean, the point that I'm making, we don't have to look it up necessarily now, but the point is, my daughter's in high school, and I've never heard this much great information that, for me, is comforting as a parent to know that there are so many eyes and ears and minds put together on keeping our kids safe, keeping faculty safe and staff and leadership. So it's great to hear that. I'll move on to our next question. Okay, so next I just wanted to know, I have my own thought about this, but would you say that school shootings are preventable on any level?
It would take a lot.
It would take a lot.
From a lot of different people, not just from schools. Right. Schools by themselves cannot prevent them all. No, schools by themselves cannot prevent them all.
More than just shooting. That was in my spirit the other day, because I was just like, we keep thinking about shooting. You know how much damage somebody can do with a knife? How much damage somebody can do with a chemical weapon? We need to think way more than that when we're doing our checks or pre-checks. Preventable, I think we can be in the 90 percentile or 94 percentile of preventing them. I
Like
don't know if we'll be
we can
100%.
quell the threat.
Absolutely,
Maybe not
because
completely
you're
stamp.
gonna have to let go of a lot of things though. Some things you have to give up to ensure the safety of your children. You know, you have to give up some of those some of the scenery, or I'll say the ambiance and the way things look.
And some of the freedoms.
Period. You have to let some stuff go. Come in and know that your backpack is gonna have to be clear.
Right.
And not mesh.
Right.
Clear.
Wow.
Like purse clear. Lunch bag clear. You know, or limit what that can
You gotta pull that binder out.
Search.
And I don't care.
You're gonna have to
pocket.
Yeah.
Somebody don't have to probably touch your child. That's gonna be okay. We're gonna need the wand as far as the metal detector. And this is the thing, not just a metal detector at the front. Anywhere you can come in,
yes,
there needs to be one.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in one particular school in Atlanta.
And every time you exit, you have to be searched on your way back in.
You come in through the top where where the gym is, metal detector. You come in through the bottom where everybody comes in, metal. You come in through the side door from the van room, like that's the way it needs to be. And I know it's sad, but the thing is, this is how we live right now. When we were growing up, not necessarily, we had metal detectors, so what happened to them? But I know as I became a teacher, it was far and few. Some had them, some didn't. And they just assumed, elementary don't need them. Absolutely not. Yes, they do. You cannot think that way.
Oh, children are showing up with guns.
Obviously, bringing the weapons.
Yeah, they're showing up.
A lot of them are. But then sometimes people just target elementary schools because they think they're soft targets.
They do.
So
those kids are
look at
more
Texas,
vulnerable.
Uvalde, for example. Come on. What, as an administrator, there is so much you have to consider.
Yes.
When you get your budget for a school, they don't really identify certain dollars for safety.
Nope.
They just give you money to educate kids.
Right.
The only way you get money specifically for safety is that you write a grant, which we did. You know, you have to go out and beg for stuff, which we did. But
the walkie-talkies that are a straight transmission to the police department or to the district.
Or
like
to the
everybody
district.
don't have that.
Everybody, No. So you have to allocate, as an administrator, I had to allocate dollars specifically for safety, knowing that I'm pulling from
you have
academics.
to prioritize safety.
Yes, you have to, especially in Colorado, which in my mind, it may not be tornado alley, but they may be school shooting alley.
Yeah, it is. You have to have, like, it starts from when you enter our campus, right? Our parking lot.
Yes.
Not even the building, but the parking lot. Cameras need to be on the parking lot.
Yes.
You know, when we have people out looking, and we have our SROs who might walk the building, but then sit and watch the camera. And you need somebody to do that.
Yes.
If you don't have somebody who's going to literally sit all day and watch the camera, that's an issue.
That's
Pay
an
for
issue.
that body, because that is so important. I think that's a good preventable way. And then, so they're watching people coming in. You know? From there, let's talk about getting in. Because that's where my frustration used to come in. And I got, a little extreme with it, and people got mad at me, but I didn't care. Because I thought about it, I get out, and I'm walking in the building, and I'm getting ready to buzz in. And this is how we did, we buzzed in. And I think at most schools you buzz in now, because that became a new thing. I remember when that wasn't. But you buzz in. And so, on the front line, whoever you have at that front desk, that's a problem if they're going to just buzz everybody in. I don't need nobody lazy there. I don't need nobody who hasn't been trained. I don't need nobody who don't know anything about the entrances and exits of a school building. I don't need anybody who don't know about confidentiality. I don't need anybody who's going to be too lazy to identify somebody. If somebody buzz, and I don't even care if you know me. If I don't work there in that moment, if I'm a former employee, I don't get in. I don't want you to buzz and be like, oh, I know her. No. You're supposed to identify me.
Yeah.
Pull out my ID because I no longer work there.
State your purpose.
But if I'm buzzing and I tell you why I'm coming here, okay, you got an appointment? Oh, I got an appointment to see Principal so-and-so. Hold, please. Don't be like, okay, come in. No, they got no appointment, but I'm going to tell you it happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
What happened for me, I walk behind somebody. Like I said, I'm coming back from lunch. I'm behind somebody, and I'm watching how they're going in the building. Oh, I come to pick up so-and-so, Oh, yeah, I come pick up my child. Okay, but no other question. What? Anything else? But that's what happened. So then I remember coming in. So this is another thing, what I'm saying about the level of how we can prevent. Who's at your front and who are you letting in? You got this bulletproof glass, but who cares? if they get access to the building. Because there's going to be and this might be a scenario where they're like, okay, well, I'm going to shoot you, you don't buzz that button and let me into the next level of school. And then you don't know if the person in there is going to risk their life for the whole building.
Probably not.
Nope, they're going to hit that button.
Because I'm not. I'm going to see if I can. I'm not going to shoot you, going to shoot me. But at the same time, I'm not going to have a gun on my hip. You can't do that. Okay, so still like to say, they buzzing in, right? You let them in on just one question. Absolutely not. If you say, I'm coming to pick up my child, what is your name? What's your child name? And my thing is, when you ask them what class they're in, they don't know. That's your child. You don't know what class. Okay, fine. I'll look it up.
And many of them don't.
No. You can
Many of them don't.
You can look it up.
But you need to know your child
And I need to
name.
see your ID.
Yep, I need to know your. I need to see your
The
ID.
camera's right there. Hold your ID to the camera. You know.
Yep.
And if you don't have a camera there, you only got a buzz to get a camera. Those are the levels you need to go to, right?
Yeah,
And so when you come into the school, then there's a machine, right? And you put your license in, it'll let us know if you got a record,
Yeah.
if you're wanted, all of that.
All of it.
Absolutely not. We go ahead and take your picture because we don't need it. We take your picture to let us know that you can't come back and you got to get out of our building. I don't care if you got a child here or not. You got a record. There's something wrong with you criminally. You cannot come into our building.
You cannot come in.
But that goes down to
cold-blooded.
Yeah, but hey.
And then at the same time, there should be a metal detector there too.
Yeah.
Because we were in a situation where it wasn't. You came to talk to me, you got buzzed in, you need to go to a metal. There was not a metal detector there. That was a problem for me, right? Because we've had people breach our security, so we have to beef it up after that. So say you come in, right? But this goes back to the delivery driver, right? Delivery drivers, I don't care if it's UPS, US, I don't care. You come in with that uniform on, whatever. Who are you delivering to? Who had a package? Stop them too. Because that could be a way for people to get in. I'm just thinking of how you're going to get in. Yeah. DoorDash, Uber Eats, that used to make me so mad. I come out there and it's just random folks walking in our building. I'm sitting here like, and then they coming down and they dapping up the high schoolers because they know them. Oh, that's your homeboy? How did you even get in this building? So I cut it all out. I cut out DoorDash, all that, and I know they were pissed. I didn't care because all I thought was the threat of. Because I sat there and I just watched how people.
It was a breach.
How they get into the building?
Now just thinking of the kid in the building, or even a former kid, because sometimes you get put out and then you want to come back and get pissed off because you got put out, or you got beef with somebody here, you got suspended and they didn't, or you got expelled. So now you come back to get them. You know all our secrets.
Yeah.
You know the front lady's so nice you gonna buzz anybody in. You know what side doors are probably broken that can probably come in. And then now you got this. So you can come in as an Uber driver. I mean, as an Uber Eats person. You can come in pretending to be DoorDash. You can come in pretending to be because you already know. Oh, this person. Oh, they just met me.
Yeah. Amazon.
Right.
Just anybody.
So to me, the front person needs to know who and how to buzz people in. And if you got some little softy up there and you can't move them because they're such a good clerk. Put an SRO. Or put somebody there.
Put someone there.
Be law enforcement. There's a body there that is strictly there to guard the life. And you probably think, well, we ain't got the manpower for that. Well, is it worth your life?
Right.
Because these kids are very smart, and they're getting more calculated. And I don't think we need to be looking at kids, it's adults. Some adults have lost their mind.
Yeah.
And they probably just say, I'm having a bad day. Oh, it's a school over there. Let me get in this school. You should not be able to get in. So that's the first line of defense. I also think about the metal detectors to make sure we're not having knives, guns, and stuff like that. And then, what do we always say? Look them in the eyes.
Yes.
You look a kid in their eyes, and you can see something. Right? The kid come in, look a certain way. Whoa! Because I used to do that in my classroom. They come in, you alright? You alright? I'm just having, I have a seat. Because if you are intuitive, you know what you should be. You feel it, you know what I mean? And if you have a kid that's jovial, and then all of a sudden they come in one day looking out, what's wrong, baby? What's wrong with you? Like, come on. Y'all go to special.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit here. You stay back with me. That parents and students checking in with their kids or whatever. You got to do that, but we were looking in the eyes. From there, we have our threat assessment team, right? So we have these students that when we find out something that's happened major in their life, you start watching them. When you have a student that comes in has no friends, right? You know they're being bullied. They look disheveled. We are trained, and this is how they train us in Colorado, to look at those kids and start, not a, well, you don't
Observing.
Just pay
Just
attention. Just
observe.
pay
you have to
attention.
do a safety plan on them yet until you realize that you have to, but someone has to check in with them, right?
Yeah.
A counselor, a teacher, or something. And once we realize something is going on, we assign someone to that child. You know, it adults and peers. We assign them to that child to make sure that they have what they need. You having a bad day? Let us know. That was enough. That's something I hadn't seen here, which maybe is going on now. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But in Colorado, when we went to that training, they was like, you gotta talk to the kids. And then they showed a video, and then they asked us, now, what would you do in this situation? What this kid said this? How would you? I mean, it was a drill down to the scenario, and I thought, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because even though me as a teacher, I knew it was in the eyes, you know what I mean? But they actually said that, and I thought somebody knows that this is what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
That blew my mind, and I thought, this is what I'm
Unfortunately,
talking about.
the reason why they
And
know.
we started getting students after that and putting
Yeah.
them on our files and stuff, and we
Mhm,
paid
mhm.
attention to them, and I thought, that's what you do. And it's simple, because you notice, every time there's a shooting, they be like, oh, they had a past history of being bullied.
Yeah.
Oh, they was upset about this. And it can be anything from LGBTQ, from just being a scrawny kid, people just pick on, from being different, from being gothic, from being whatever. You know what I
And
mean?
sometimes it's just because they made a threat 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know?
And let's talk about that. Because sometimes it's hard to get a kid out your school. This is what I think. And I know I'm right, but I don't care. This is the thing. If you ever made a threat, I don't care if you were playing around like those kids that decide to make those threats, like in Gwinnett and stuff like that, that are now in juvenile making a threat. You're going to be homeschooled from now on.
Mhm.
Any threat, false or not, any situation where you, because we had students, did we not, in Colorado who was in other schools doing crazy stuff.
Yes.
And then they would come to us and they're like, you got to let them in. No,
we don't. I wouldn't let them
That
in.
kid
Nope.
that shot up that SRO when they searched him, he had done that at another school. And but they let him into the next school. You are done with school. I don't know what plan your parents about to get together, but somebody's gonna have to homeschool them. I wouldn't even send them to alternative school.
No,
because once
because
that's
this
on
is
your
cause a problem
mind,
there.
thank you. I think that, so maybe that could bring some accountability about doing that. Okay, go right ahead. But once you do this, now you're no longer part of the educational system where you have to come into an institution and, you know, physically come into an institution and be educated. That's over for you. You're now online or you're now being homeschooled. And you can provide for online support and stuff like that. That's fine. You're not coming up in here no more.
Nope.
Because now you're taking that privilege away. Let's get more strict about that. I remember Texas, our first thing was zero tolerance for everything.
Yeah.
You fight, you're out.
Yeah. I
It
remember
wasn't
that.
no, oh, I fought because I was defending myself.
Yeah.
Now that felt a little unfair. Didn't matter. Texas was like, you fought.
Yeah. That started when I was
but
in
you out
school.
too. Me
Yeah.
too. And I think that was amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we should get to. Zero tolerance. And even if you just pretending, oh, that was a false alarm, that's fine, but you at home now.
Yeah.
You can no longer come in the building. That'll help us.
You can false alarm at home.
Yep, you can false alarm at home.
Because my question is about this kid, I know it's all going to come out. How does the gun get in the building? Same thing for the Omaha thing that just happened, right? This 15-year-old shoots another one, right? Shoots another student. And yes, it was like isolated between this one student shooting another student. How the gun get in the building?
In the building.
And my thing is, when you shoot, it can hit anybody.
Right.
It might not hit who you want to hit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or it may hit them and somebody else.
Or people start to react, and then you're panicking, and you can keep shooting. Like
Yeah.
it can go wrong.
Yeah.
In a sense. So my thing is, how do you get onto the campus parking lot? Let's start there, parking lot, and then how they get into the building. There should be so many security measures before they even can get in, buzz in that doggone door. And because the walls, the windows are bulletproof, and then once you get in, where the clerks and the secretaries are, bulletproof, and then we try and get from there, because I know in a lot of schools, when you first walk in, you're in. That wasn't like that for us. In Colorado, it wasn't like that for us. But it was here in like the different school districts we've been in the metro Atlanta area, and even in Texas. But in Colorado, you walked in, you're not in yet.
No.
You in the lobby.
Yeah.
But you're not in the building.
Yeah.
And then you got the big bulletproof right there, window and all that. Then you step up and say, hey, this is who I want to see. And then they're like, they got to hit a button to let you in.
Yeah.
But in a lot of schools, you walk in, you're in. So what I would say, let's think about the structure of that. Find it so that there's 2 steps you got to go through before you can go in.
Or more. Because when I was principal, I had 3 doors.
You can get in.
I wasn't playing that. I took safety seriously.
And then you like,
Yeah.
because when he got there, they were remodeling the building. They was like, "What do you want?"
An extra layer.
I wanted an
even
extra
more
layer.
extra layers than the high school.
Yeah.
He was like, we would go into that building, and that's where all the admin were housed. But you would go in, and then you'd have to get buzzed in to then go in, and then from there, buzzed in to go into the admin suite or whatever. That was for that or whatever. But in the elementary, when he was the principal down in elementary, oh, absolutely not.
Mhm.
You buzz in, all right, now you're in this little holding area. You buzz in, all right, now you're in this another little holding area. Then you get buzzed in, then you can go
Then you
in.
can go to the
Loved it. And you felt so, we had so many ways where we could stop you. So, and then there was ways where we could just stop you right in the first little part.
Mhm.
Give you what you need, get back out of here.
You get out.
You get in a little bit of first part, oh, I ain't got this and that. All right, well, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't get here, and then you can't even get there because you're done here. But so to me, that was excellent because that was another blocking. The first thing I do is get in that building, and I can do whatever I want to do. Because if you think about school buildings, and let's talk about this, on the district level, you go to a downtown office, you can't even get to the next floor without a key card. Why y'all on lockdown or not?
Yeah.
And then the kids on.
Exactly.
But we somehow can't get to you, and we got to get up to HR or get up to finance or whatever.
Any place.
Or because that's where the superintendent is. You know what I'm saying? So you go into this building, you walk in, security pat you down, metal, you can't even get in the building. And then once you get in there, the security at the elevator, where you trying to go? They buzz and hit that one button. If you stuck on that floor,
you can't use the elevator by yourself. You can't use it because the buttons are not active. You have to have a special card to activate the elevator, and they do it for you.
And even I don't care how high up you are, you still only have certain access to certain floors when you get a certain position.
And when you
So
got to
we
those
only can
floors,
access a certain amount of floors. You know what I mean?
but when you got to those floors, there was more security there. They were like, "Come to this one desk, and all the place you go, and I deal with you."
But you go into a school building, you walk in, you win. What? Absolutely not. No. So I can think about that. We got new schools being built all the time. So think about, that facet of it when you're designing your building. When you have money to do construction on your building, because a lot of times in APS, they'll move you to an old school building while they're fixing your older.
Yeah.
Think about that as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because now this is a reality, and I just don't see it getting better, especially the gun laws.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Georgia, now we got to get radical. We're gonna get to this 90-something or 100% prevention. Because now with the whole concealed carry, and you don't have to have a concealed carry. What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Because I went through all that to get my concealed carry, and then nobody needs it.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. So think about that. Think about that. When you walk outside of that school, virtually anyone could have a weapon on them.
Yeah.
Anyone. So the moment you walk out, you're kind of vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And any one of those could show up at your door at any time. So you got to figure out how to deal with it.
That's why I'm kids
You got to figure out how to deal with it.
Because once you do that, you're out. Or I left that ever make in the building. No. Can't go back in the building. And I know parents might get a little upset about that because I know they're like, oh, that's my backpack. This is tomorrow. Mm-hmm. You have to build it. You have to build it. We're done. And if you're having practice and stuff like that, we pull everybody to that, to
one
that
little area,
and that's it.
And you go to you use that door nearest the gym.
Try and go through the front door, the front office. You're done.
You're done.
And then like, oh, I left something. You're done. You'll stand here outside on this grassy area. That's it for you. You better figure out who's your teacher. Okay. Mm-hmm. So still left their backpack. You gonna bring it down? Nobody's coming back in this building because that's a re-entry. To me, that's safe entry too. Yeah. And we have to shut that down as well. That in and out, not. And then that not come and pick up your kids. All that stuff matters. It does. Yeah. So they could be waiting on somebody to bring somebody back in the building. Mm-hmm. That's the way my mind works.
So there's so much planning clearly that, and I'm just becoming privy to all this. So much planning that goes into school safety and keeping students safe and everyone in these buildings, which is great to hear.
That's why they want the hoodies in the backpacks and stuff like that.
What would you say are threats to these extensive protocols that have been put in place? What threatens the safety and the protocols? I feel like you all have touched on quite a bit of it so far. But Dr. Bow, what would you say?
I would say one thing that we may overlook that is definitely a threat at times are the parents. They complain because we don't want hoodies in the building or kids wearing their jackets in the building where it's easily to conceal something.
Yeah.
They complain about that.
That's
They
what
complain.
you know that, like, man,
Yeah.
the trench coat, they was like, why are you wearing that?
They complain about searching kids at the door. This not a prison. Why they gotta feel like they're in jail?
They're still on that.
Yeah, they still do that.
Wow.
They still do that. They complain because they can't get their kid when they want it during a lockdown. You know, the whole reason why we got lockdown is to keep people out.
Right.
So don't expect to come in if we're under lockdown.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep people out.
I want to walk my child.
It's doing what it came to do.
Exactly.
Right.
But
And then that, because it's like a lot of times I know this happens in the beginning of the school year. I want to walk my kids to their room. No,
we don't do that.
We're not doing that.
Mm-mm.
You know, sometimes be a little more lenient with kindergarten and pre-K. But no, after that, no, baby, we got them.
We got them.
You say you kids at the front door, and we got them because we cannot have all these people in
Right.
We cannot.
Right.
You know, then we got to figure out if you enter, but
Did you get out? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't do it. So yeah, I mean, basically, some of the desires that the parents want become a major threat to our protocols, to our system, and ultimately to all of our staff and students.
And I imagine too, the parents communicating their displeasure permeates to the students, and so and their adherence to the policies and the procedures, and so I would imagine that would.
I would just say
great on it as well.
I understand the desire because we understand why the desire would be there to have free reign to come and get your kids. Be with them in the middle of the day. I want to come have lunch with them and things like that, and we do make allowances for that. You know, we have. But if we ever say no, it's really safety for your kid. It has nothing to do with you. I think a lot of times it's taken personally. You know, that's my child. I should be able to. Man, y'all have given us the authority and given us the trust to take care of your child. Let us do that. So if we have to tell you no, it's for a reason. We're not. They just, they just rude up in there. Are we?
I mean, you can take your child home.
Yeah, you go to another school.
Yeah.
But they're like, and that's the other thing. Like when I was talking about students that disrupt, and you can see the potential danger in the kid, and you already know. Because case in point, the last situation that we had, this particular student, she kept getting in trouble over and over again. I know because I had counseling sessions with this little girl over and over again because she kept doing the same thing over and over, and then it started to escalate. So now she goes from elementary to middle school doing the same shenanigans, and that's when it escalated. Now we're all going home because we got this whole threat that she initiated. You know what I mean? That was false, but we didn't know.
Right.
So she planted the seed in the school. Then kids started texting. Then finally a kid went to a counselor and was like, hey, she's going to have somebody come shoot up the school.
Oh my
so
Lord.
once we figured that out, we immediately go grab her, have a conversation with her. We immediately started getting everybody to send us the Snapchats and stuff. So we're investigating this immediately. And now we're like, but as soon as we heard that the person might be in the school, we checking the school. We checking the entrances because she was going to go let the person in. It was a thing, but we immediately went into the mode of we interviewed a bunch of kids, talked to her immediately because she the one, and we had to figure out that it wasn't an actual threat. Then, but when the police showed up, at this point, kids already texting their parents, right? And so that became a big thing. So parents want to be on their way. That's fine. The police department showed up. The school district police department showed up as well. So we're dealing with them. And then we have detectives. Now they got to go to the person's house that's supposed to come. So it was a full thing on while we're there. Now parents are showing up. And we're trying to get the parents out, and that's when it became pandemonium because they're like, getting my child. They fussing with each other. They pushing each other. Then they fussing, and then we got staff members coming in crying because the parents going off on them. And we're like, hold up. You know what I mean? It was just off a threat that wasn't there, which was fine, y'all, because we did need that practice.
Sure.
But then at the same time, so this situation was, she pretended that, and then when she put it on Snapchat, she was the person on both accounts. She was pretending to talk to one person while she then answered. Yeah. And so everybody thought, oh, a boy that didn't give her any attention. It was a child, but you never know how kids are going to handle things. You know, that's right. You're ready now to say, hey, this kid got to be, expulsion at this point. Ain't no suspension. Expulsion. Don't come back up in here. But in some places, it's like, oh, you can't get rid of them until you find somewhere for them to go.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did.
And get this. Get this. Now, where we were, where we were in Colorado,
Because you let people go.
if we did get around to letting them go, they wanted the school to pay for them to go.
Now you don't
So it's supposed to come out of your budget.
Yes.
To go to the other school.
Yes.
after you came
Yes.
here and put us all in danger. I mean, crazy because you got this person talking about, oh, this person about to come up here and shoot up this and that. Oh, okay, well let me call my people.
Yeah.
So they can come and shoot up on my behalf. The pandemonium, and I mean the kids being upset, calling the parents, they're crying. Now they're going to the school board, and when I tell you we handled that beautifully, but people still came after us like we didn't.
Well, that was going to be my next question.
They,
As a
we
matter of
handled
fact,
it beautifully. Even the police department, the detectives was like, "Whoa, y'all were on it." And when they was like, "Hey, send me a write up of what y'all did," man, I think I wrote them a dissertation.
Yeah.
Written accommodations from the police department.
Well, and they got accolades for it.
Let me
Let
me see it up a little bit. So just to back up a little bit. So there obviously is a PR aspect to all of this.
Oh,
which
absolutely.
you all well know, and I'm coming to know. So there's the part where you boots on the ground, and you're having to plan and put these plans into effect and activate when things happen. But it seems almost like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yes.
So how do you handle disgruntled stakeholders, parents, community members when people
that
are?
was my job.
I know. That's what I want to know, Dr. About like
I
what?
didn't because my thing was, but it was actually my position too.
Yeah,
I was supposed to. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to do that with you.
Yeah.
You know, we gave the facts. That's all I did.
Sure.
We gave the facts. And we can
Handle
debrief the
the facts,
staff too, because a lot of staff don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
They don't know. So at the end of the day, we have to bring them all together with the police department and with the district people. They come together and say, "Hey, y'all, this is what happened. This is the story. This is not the rumors or whatever.
Yeah.
This is what happened. This is why we did this. This is why we did that." Because sometimes you're inside the building and you still don't know what the outside people know.
Sure.
So you're upset about that. So that's when we got together and we talked to them. This is what we did, and then that's when they came forward and was like, "Y'all should be proud of them because they did this. Like we have never seen it like that." Because I'm telling you, we were on that, right?
Yeah.
So then we get down, and it's the end of the day, right? But then now we got a board meeting. And then the parents who still, well, I heard that was a shooter. Y'all said it wasn't, but I heard it was.
Y'all hiding stuff.
They had guns blazing. What? If you think we're not going to, the police department jumps in, we don't have a say after that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the police department's not going to lie about, not to say it's impossible, but they're not going to lie about what happened because now they have a role in it as well. So and we literally got people being dispersed, going, putting all these pieces together, and we're giving them the full layout, the full report about what happened. Even the police department is like, y'all get this, y'all get that, send an email, tell them how great we did so we could send it to them. They didn't want to hear it. Because they're like, if my child said there was somebody running through the hallways with a gun,
my child said they saw a gun.
Then there was. And so what can you do about that? I don't deal with that kind of stuff. I just give them the facts and I move on. Y'all say what y'all gotta say. But,
well, I mean, being the head, and especially at the district level, I had to be the face of the district. Yeah. So I had to deal with all of that. So I explained to them in as calm a manner as I possibly can, everything, all of the facts. And then I told them, these are some of the things that we're doing, and I'm asking you for your trust. You gave me your kids. You trust me to do it. I'm asking you to continue trusting me. I'm returning your kid today safely. He or she may have been a little scared, but unfortunately, it's just the reality that we live in. We get threats. Yeah. And then I returned your kid to you, just like you brought them to me, right? So you have to try to get them to see rationally. At the time,
30 minutes to get my kid.
Exactly. They look. I try to explain to them as rationally as possible, even those things that should be obvious, even those things that we've already talked about at the last time we had a situation like this. I have to continue to do it, and it's so unfortunate, but it's administrators now, they have to know that they're going to be experiencing this more and more. In fact, my daughter is an educator. She's still in Denver. Yesterday and today, they had threats called for their school. And it's happening so much to where There's a word for
Mhm.
it. When you say swatting to an educator, they know somebody calling threats
Yeah.
into a school, causing all kind of police to come and show up at the
Yeah.
school, and now school is about to be interrupted. Even if they're just sitting in a corner somewhere in a classroom, teaching and learning is about to cease because someone called in a swatting on a school.
And a lot of times that's really what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
just to
not
be
really,
disruptive.
they're not trying to. They don't want anything bad to happen.
And then on the flip side of that, after all of these swatting and teaching and learning stopping, at the end of the year, now we want to grade you on academics.
Right.
Oh,
Yes,
Right.
now we want to grade you on academics. How come your kids aren't doing as well as the kids at the other school? Well, how come the scores drop? But man, we didn't have nearly as much academic time this year because we had so many swatting calls.
wow.
So we were sitting in the corner
Wow.
when we should have been learning. Yeah, so it's
But as soon as
ridiculous.
you say, when you get on, you say it's a soft lockdown, or even if it's hard, whatever. If I had to push that number 3 and talk to everybody, your whole mindset goes somewhere else because you just don't know, and then you want to know what that was, and then you go home, you tell your parents, oh, again, But the thing is, we still have to say something because you just never know.
You never know.
And so, but they take it to level 10 when it probably was a level 3. But regardless, doing it so much and doing it every other week, it becomes a bit much, and it just disrupts. You got to think about all that time is quality educational time. You just can't get back. When stuff like that happens, you can't.
Oh, go ahead, Doctor.
I was just something that maybe the average person doesn't think about. We couldn't advertise or say too much when we were even going to do a fire drill.
Sure.
And even that put us between a rock and a hard place. If you,
in terms of the instructional,
in terms
aspect.
of the parents,
Yeah.
because if we do a drill, some kid's gonna text and say, "Oh, we're leaving the building, something going on." Parents gonna think it's the real thing. They're gonna get upset.
And one time it was literally like what, a microwave that
Yes, someone.
somebody brought the popcorn, but the
Oh my
went
God.
Yes.
in the oven in the cafeteria, and we're all having to evacuate really quickly, and
Mhm.
so they make everything a thing after that.
Everything. So you can't tell the parent we're gonna do a fire drill because now they're gonna tell the kid, y'all got fire drill at 2:00.
Right.
So now it's not a drill anymore.
Right.
So if you do the drill, somebody's gonna text home and they're gonna tell the parents. And just think about this: if everyone knew about the drill, that would be the ideal time to have someone to come up and shoot up because we're all going outside.
Right.
And we're all in one place.
Yes.
Away from the building, away from protection.
Sure.
I mean, all you gotta do is just kind of squeeze the trigger and spray.
Oh Lord.
So it's so
We gotta
difficult.
think about bomb threats, chemical
Yes.
threats. You have to partner with the church down the street to make sure you got a big enough parking lot to accommodate everybody. So we have several schools on one campus.
Yeah.
And so you have to think about that too. One time we can't just cross the street. Where are we? We was at a park.
We're right across the street from a public park.
We're not going over there. No, we're going down the street
Mhm.
in a controlled situation where there's a church. So then we had to do drills, and we had to evacuate the whole school, and everybody walk down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we were doing all year.
Yeah.
Like, we are really planning for this.
Which is additional planning because that's a stakeholder that you need. Because you may need their facility. So they have to be at the table. There's just so many people that are at that planning table. Yes, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy.
We sit and we plan all that.
Thank you guys for that. It's so enlightening. I'm thinking like, oh, y'all know a lot. I want to shift a little bit to something I think that many of our minds went to with this latest school shooting in Appalachia. What role do parents play? What is the responsibility of a parent when it comes to these matters? And I have personal feelings about it, but I also have an objective view about it as well. But I'm very interested to hear where you stand on that.
Well, I think about that timeline.
Sure.
Her son texting her beforehand. This is the thing. I don't know, because sometimes the details, but from my knowledge, she stayed with the dad. Right? I saw a story about or article about well, actually on YouTube. I saw that the mom left before and took the youngest child.
Yes.
And that the father still had Colt and had Jenny, a daughter. She wasn't the youngest, something with a C, something with a C anyway. Cole, I don't know. That child ended up going with the mom, right? So from my knowledge, Colt did not live with the mom. Clearly was still in communication with her.
Well, the article that you shared, the newsletter that you shared, Dr. Bob, supports that. No, it supports what you're saying because it says the call she made, she was 200 miles away in another town in Georgia.
So there's only so much you can do, right? And sometimes, now if a kid shares with you, automatically your child, as a parent, your child automatically is giving you ideas about what they might do, or even if they don't even tell you what they might do, but you know your child.
Sure. Yeah.
Every time you say, well, your child did this in class today, they're looking like, they pause first, and you're like, because but then they go into defense, but it's like, but this is not the first time your child did this. So I feel, parents know their children, right?
Sure.
So if you know your child and you get any inclination that you might do this, you need to say something. Even if it's not about school shootings and you're like, my child's going to need some more emotional support at school, then reach out to a counselor, an AP, the teacher, whatever safety net services that we have, reach out for that because we're all in this together. Now, I don't know what relationship they had or if you talked to him beforehand or whatever, but when he did reach out to her and say what he was going to do, she immediately called. We need that too. Now, I don't think she's Mother of the Year by any means, but I thought in that situation she did what she could do. And that's all I would say to parents. Do what you can do. If you see something brewing, then say something. And then, like I said, it don't have to be a school shooting, but we've gone away from school to literally educate. And that's really our only purpose. Yeah. All of the stuff we're doing, we were not supposed to be doing. When teachers were all these hats of being a nurse and a counselor and all that, we don't go to school for that. So we're not experts on that. Sure. So when you look back and you're like, well, why didn't the teacher? What do you mean? The teacher was taught to teach.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point, Dr. Cat.
The school was taught was created to teach. That's it. We were not supposed to be the counselors. Yeah. We were not. But we understood, hey, the kids that we are teaching are coming in with these emotional issues or social issues that we're going to have to address before they can even focus. Yeah. So that's how we imparted ourselves. But we probably shouldn't have. We probably should have still kept that separate. But no, we stood up to the plate and did that. But I don't feel like the whole responsibility was falling.
No, absolutely not.
Parents are the first absolutely teachers, not.
Yeah.
And we all know.
Well, and to your point, Dr. Cat, that's the thing. It's like it has just kind of evolved to that because, as you said, y'all are observing these children's behavior more so than parents may even be, right? Because you're like in a closed setting with them like all this time, and so it's not necessarily right or fair. It's just where the situation is.
We have to do it.
But Dr. Bob, I wanted to ask you. That was a great point you made about the mom making the call when she received a call about or a text about what she felt was maybe about to happen. But Dr. Bob, I'll take a step back a little bit.
Yeah.
Access to weapons.
See, now, and this may or may not upset some people, but I feel it, so I'm gonna say it. If it upsets you, please put it in the comments. I'll personally apologize to you. But we, because I'm a father of 3, have to do a better job at raising our kids. And do not buy them guns and weapons for presents when they're minor. Right. This is a weapon that a father bought for a 12-year-old kid.
Not a emotionally normal 12-year-old kid. Yeah. And don't tell me that he didn't know because so many family members knew. And he lived with you, you knew he wasn't emotionally ready for it. You told the FBI that no, he didn't have access to it and all. But then, before the year was out, you made sure he had one? Does that make sense?
Help me to understand where you have a kid who can't clean their room every day, but you buy them a gun.
That needs to be clean.
That's crazy to me.
Well, a gun that can cause mass destruction.
Yes. Yeah. Not a hunting gun. Right. And even if it was a hunting gun, the kid is 12.
Right.
And he should not.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
If you have hunting guns or whatever in your home, because we grew up with guns, in Texas, right? Yeah. So we, but I didn't know where it was. I didn't know where my father's gun was.
I knew where they were, but I knew I didn't want the blank whooping that would come with it if I were to touch
because
it.
your parents told you. Your
I
parents
would've died in
told
that
you.
moment.
I saw it all the time.
Yeah.
This is my thing. Even if you're a hunting family, you went
Yeah.
hunting and you want to teach your child when they're young to shoot a gun, fine. But when you get back and when you lock it up, they shouldn't know where the key is because they probably know where the gun is.
Yeah.
But now, like, what about this access? But let's put all that out the window.
Yeah.
Not only am I going to let you have access, but I'm going to let you have one.
Right.
Yes.
One.
It's yours.
Still not your
After being questioned by the FBI, GBI about a potential threat that your child has shown to be.
But your
in
child
months past.
also reached out to the family for help. His family was saying that he asked for help, that he was having mental issues. He asked for help because the other student was saying that he was mercilessly bullied. Everybody knew his child was being bullied. Not at Appalachia like the school beforehand, but he was being bullied. So that alone is already emotional distress. And then you're having other mental issues, and then you're like, oh, with all that, I'm still gonna get you a gun. You don't push things like that.
Sure.
So essentially, what this guy did, in other words, is he took a bomb and gave it to his kid as a present and said, "Go play."
So he took a dynamite and lit it and threw it in our food.
Right.
That's what he did.
Absolutely.
So
and I don't blame the kid that much. It's a kid. And I know they're 14. No, they're not adult. Even though they're going to try on this one, that's fine. Okay, I get it because of the severity of it.
Absolutely.
And you want to make sure that kid gets the help they need and be put away to secure everybody else. I get all that. And we can't do the death penalty. I get all that. But that is still a kid. And think about who you were at 14. Now, they live in the moment. You know, they don't think about the repercussions of later on. They live in that moment.
Right.
And I think, so we failed him emotionally. We failed him as society.
Well, I don't know if we failed him as that particular kid.
Yeah, I don't.
But that dad did.
I don't think I did personally.
I think that dad did.
I think, but see, we don't know the whole story because I wonder if this kid had an IEP. I'm wondering if what do we
talk about that, Dr. Cat.
Well, that's the thing because you have to address it differently.
Yeah,
we
talk about that.
Discipline them differently than we discipline.
Well, back up and tell the audience first of all what an IEP is, just very briefly, and how that would impact this, and how that would impact this situation. Like real quick.
Well, just think about. I'm gonna keep it simple because all these little letters and stuff you're not gonna get. But I would say, I think everybody knows what special ed is, right? Special education, and that could be a disability, that could be emotional, like mental. You can be a slow learner. Let's say you don't learn as fast, or you learn
differently.
And sometimes your brain doesn't connect to other things in your body. Right? I had a kid that was a genius. Her gross motor skills, she literally could not write.
Sure.
But got a perfect score on study.
So if he had an IEP, if he was a special ed child,
if he has an IEP, or if he has a plan, an individual plan for this kid to be more successful in learning, or just to be more successful in general, we have to look at what the issue is if there's an issue. Because behavior-wise, because your IEP can have a lot to do with your behavior, or your behavior have a lot to do with your learning disability. So let's say their behavior manifests a particular action, then we have to look at that differently when we try to recommend that. So a kid that doesn't have an IEP or doesn't have any kind of special education needs going on, just decides to haul off and hit somebody else, and then they start scrapping. Y'all going home. Y'all going home. That's it. But for a kid who can't make a rational decision, like that particular kid knew what he was doing. I don't like you tomorrow on site, and on site they beat you down, right? But another kid that may be sitting here thinking, and I'm not saying this is what happened, thinking that a situation is going on that might not be going on. And then they have like even ODD. So we all talking about ADD and ADHD, but what about ODD? Where they just have those spontaneous, cursing people out, spontaneous acts of violence, spontaneously making decisions that they shouldn't be making, and they get physical. If you're manifesting that, and that's a part of your IEP, we cannot punish you like we punish the regular kids. We can't be like, oh, you're going home for suspension. No, we're going to go back to your IEP. We'll go back to see what your plan is. We're going to do those steps or start those steps again. But you'll be back to school tomorrow.
Yeah.
Why the other kid going to be at home?
Yeah.
So saying all that to say, are we even treating this kid if he is special ed, or even if he has a mental disability that hasn't been diagnosed, can we still hold him as accountable as we will the average 14-year-old that does not? Because that's what we deal with in school. a lot of times you see this kid do something egregious, and you're like, wait a minute, why y'all didn't throw the book? Well, this kid has IEP.
Mhm.
What? It does matter.
It
But that's
matters.
like me having a
It-
mental
it
issue,
matters
and you're not
because-
having a mental issue. We're gonna handle things differently.
And not just because it matters emotionally,
Mhm.
but it matters legally.
Sure,
Sure. There are legal,
That's right.
But
legal
here,
ramifications.
I think,
right.
It's
but
hard to suspend them. It's hard to do a lot of things.
but here's, I think this is one way that we can circumvent a lot of violence. Parents do a better job at parenting. And that is a simple decision to make. Don't buy your children weapons.
Sure.
Don't do that.
Right.
I mean, if you want to just buy them something, get them a go
But
kart.
this is the thing. They're children, and as adults, and I know it's getting very loose these days. But as an adult, we have to jump through hoops to get it done. You know, we have to do a criminal background check, which I don't know. I just know I did. You know,
Well,
we did.
we are supposed to be doing something. I mean,
Yeah, so you do all that
there's
to
a
get the
screening
gun.
at every time.
And then
Even
you
if
just
you
put
go
it
and
in a
buy a
child's
weapon,
hands.
yeah, come on.
Right.
If they
you
can't
do
go
all
buy their
that,
own
but you have a
gun,
kid
don't
who's
buy
not
them a
even
gun.
emotionally mature, and we're handing them a gun, but yeah, you got to go run through hoops to get it. That doesn't make any
It
sense.
doesn't.
That's common
It
sense.
doesn't. Stop buying your children
And
weapons.
it's not even just
Don't do
parents.
it.
It's any adult figure in that child's life.
Mhm.
Be the adult.
And then too, something as simple as talking to your kid. As educators, long-term educators, we know that as the child grows older and matriculates through school, the less the parent communicate with them.
Listen, you
The
know how what we
less.
say by elementary.
Mhm.
Them parents don't never leave you alone. Middle school, you never even see them. You call them, like, why you calling my job? What you mean, I'm calling your job?
And then, yeah, and high school. Well, I told them.
Oh,
Right.
That's it.
No. High school and middle school it becomes that's your kid.
Yeah.
You know,
Ooh, girl.
you do them 8
Wow.
to 4. What do you mean?
You know, I had a parent tell me that.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
As a teacher, as an admin, I've always had parents say that to me. Well, I send them to school, y'all supposed to deal with them.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
know you sending me a dynamite. You need to make sure I know I better not have a live match.
Right.
I need to know that if I do this, the child's gonna do this. You figure it out.
And look at
We
mom.
get that a lot too.
If I got to throw water on this dynamite you sent me, don't get mad at me
No.
now.
'Cause I've had parents in the past that'll call me and say, you know, last night, so uncle died. You know, or last night, because I even had one kid, they had, it was 6 kids, it was only 4 mattresses. That kid didn't get a mattress that night. That kid did not sleep. So the mom called me next day and was like, you know, last night, Johnny didn't get sleep on the mattress. Tired.
Yeah.
When he came to my class that morning, I was like, you hungry? Yeah, so I gave him a little something to eat, and he slept all day.
Yeah.
And I let him sleep all day. But mind you, and she didn't call me and said that, why are you sleeping at my
Right,
class?
right.
I know how I am.
Mhm.
Wake up. This is that. Now, mind you, by midday, I probably would have, it probably would have kicked in for
Dawned
me.
on you, sure.
But, I mean, I would have gone home and chastised the child. But you come in, your head down, sir, head up, or your head down. Yeah,
Mhm.
pick the pencil up, you know what I mean? And then I walk by and I come back and you're still doing that, and I know this child not to be that child, then it started to kick in. But when she called me and said that, then I was able to treat him, you know, with compassion, you know what I mean? Because in school, our job is to educate them, not to coddle them, cuddle them, not to figure out none of that stuff.
Mhm.
But if you know it's going to help me, then tell me.
Yeah.
So then the next day they come in, but again, that's why I learned from that when a kid came in my room because every parent didn't call, because there were situations where they didn't. And then by the end of the day, oh, this is not happening. Why didn't you tell me? Now I'm feeling bad because I just treated them like, oh, you're just being defiant. So then I learned to look at them. They come in looking all crazy. Okay, so that's why we do for safety reasons as well. Stand in your doorway.
Yeah.
Stand in your doorway and
Monitor these halls,
we don't
greet them.
coming in,
Yeah.
you better not be at your desk. And Johnny done walked in, bruised on his arm, limping, and you don't even see it. He sat down, and because you know what's gonna happen. Then he's gonna end up going to special, and then the special teacher's gonna be like, "Whoa!" Send him to the nurse, and then we're gonna be like, "Well, who was his home?"
Right.
And then you be like, "Well, why you didn't see?"
Well, how long has this been on him?
Well, he came in this morning, did you? I didn't really
Oh.
see him. What you mean? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just that whole thing. We gonna lock eyes on your kid, but you lock on them before we.
Right.
So you let us know before we get there. Like, help us out. It's the village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then too, you know, I think about what you ask about the planning. That's another aspect of planning because we know as educators, long-term educators, some kid is not going to be able to sleep. They're not going to have the best of home situations.
not.
They're not going to be
A lot
able
of our
to
kids
eat.
are homeless.
They're going to come in and eat. Absolutely. We even have, we educate kids who are homeless. So when a kid comes in hungry, who didn't have anything to eat since he left school the previous day, do you have something extra to feed
because
this
we're
kid
gonna shut
with?
down the cafeteria at some point.
Yeah.
And be like, somebody come in and feed them. Y'all, we gotta prepare for lunch.
We have
We
to
start
purchase
at
that.
10:30.
Yes. Yeah.
So we kind of undergird that by having food in our,
More planning. So teachers have food, nurses have food, because when they're hungry, they say they're sick, and they go to the nurse. Yeah. So we make sure the nurses have something to feed these kids with.
Come in late, it's like you're supposed to be there by 7:45 or 8 o'clock or whatever. You come in at 8:30. All right, you coming in. Well, have you eaten breakfast? Because somebody come in and be like, I need breakfast. We be like, breakfast now.
Yeah.
All right, so you can be down there. You send the kid down and they coming in with snacks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I used to be upset, like, what you coming in here eating? Well, I didn't have breakfast. Because I didn't want crumbs in my room.
Yeah.
I don't let the kids eat because if I know the kid didn't eat, they'll be messed up the entire day.
Mhm.
But that's again, we're helping you out. You brought this kid over here at 8:30 late. You know you ain't fed him. And then when you hear breakfast is closed out, they didn't even feed him breakfast. Well, you brought him at 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want us to do?
So
it's
so much that goes into it. If we spend and I know you hear the passion in it because it's a serious thing.
Really
Look, I mean, we're in charge and responsible for all of these young people, and we're responsible for the adults. We're responsible for people in the building, and we're responsible for people outside our building on the campus. As soon as something hits our campus, we're responsible.
Right.
So if you got some professional in the community coming into your building to talk to kids, you're responsible for that person when they enter your campus. If you got some visitor coming here, even if they're coming for services, we got professional counselors coming to see our kids. Yes, we need that to give that to that kid, but now we're responsible for you too. So now you got to know what to do in the case of a situation. So it's so much.
They don't have like school shooters could also be job shooters. You know what I mean? They could be the people shooting up the malls and the churches and stuff like that. Like if we can get them help young, if we all be in this together, you see something, say something. Even if you're a parent, community member, it don't matter. If you know something, we need to know because we have them the majority of the week. We have them the majority of their lives from when they're 5 to 18. We have them in the school building. So now that we've decided to go ahead and step up for something we did not sign up for.
Exactly.
We only signed up to educate them. But we're going to step up and do these things. Don't make it now that's on y'all. It should never have been on us. We were only here to educate. But since we're all going to step up and provide these safety nets, then tell us what we need to know. And when it does fall apart, you can't look over at us and say it's all our fault. No, it's everybody's fault.
One way that we can help to prevent it, because again, you can't plan for every scenario, but don't let the partnership erode. When a parent brings us their child at kindergarten, they're there all day, you got to put them out. But somewhere early along that matriculation, the kids going through school, parents cut off the partnership until something goes wrong. Then they want to look at us and blame us for everything and ask us why didn't we. But continue to be that partner with your teacher. Continue to be that partner with your school. And then even if you can't be there every day, try to be in the know. Communicate via email. And talk to the people. Yes. Listen to the messages. Don't just block the call. But communication is important because one, we can keep you informed. Two, you can be more proactive. When we see an issue with your kid, we can talk to you and you can help to fix that issue. Sometimes all it takes is a conversation. Kids just need to know they're being seen and heard. So talk to your kids. Talk to them. Even ask them about school, even if you think they're going to say, I didn't do anything. What happened at school today? Nothing. That's typically the answer. But push that.
With bullying. A lot of this starts with bullying. Some kids have their own inner, I would say, that haven't been bullied, but most school shooters have been bullied. And now I find like this kid was bullied. And so I would say, as a charge to the school, make sure you're taking care of that too. Like, I can't stand bullying. And if I hear somebody bullying somebody, I'm gonna handle it.
And
I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be like, well, I've told her 5 times and told y'all about.
Oh,
You gotta tell
no.
me once.
yeah.
You don't have to tell me once. We're not doing that.
And I'm glad you said that, Dr. Cat, because that was another aspect of our training. We
Yes.
knew, based on statistics, that most school shootings, when conducted by a kid, is because they feel like they've been bullied.
Right. And then we have to
So
define
we
what
got to
bullying
put in,
was,
yeah,
too,
we
because
had a
some people
whole
think it's-
bullying
bullying was a
platform.
power thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
we
not
have to
only
think
for
about
the
that.
kids,
Some
we had to
people-
educate the parents
We
on
did.
bullying.
'Cause sometimes
This
they
is
were
what
lying, telling
bullying
you bullied.
is.
Yeah.
This is what it's
This
not.
is what it's classified
This
as.
is what we
Right.
do when we see bullying. This is
Right.
what we do. So
Right.
everyone knew, the parents, the students, the teachers, the counselors, everyone knew what to do about bullying. Everyone knew how to identify it. So yeah, so it's so much. If we just talked about planning alone, we could be here all day.
Sure.
Right.
All day. Just how much we have to do. And not just once, every year,
Yeah.
throughout the year, especially after school shootings in other places.
Yeah.
We have to sit down again. Let's review. How would this had gone down if it had happened here?
Right.
That person came through this door with a weapon and just started
Where
shooting.
are we vulnerable?
Where are we?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's always. And then God forbid when things happen at your school, whether real or a swatting issue, you still got to come back to the table and do what I call an after action review, where you look at what took place, how you responded, how can you get better. And it's an ongoing thing. The planning never stops. The planning never stops.
Well, thank y'all so much. If y'all will oblige me with one final question, because I know Dr. K, we have to get to your next segment. But just to pan out a little bit, what would you say is the reason that school shootings are so prevalent in the U.S. as opposed to other countries? And you can,
Now, I have my
you can keep it.
thoughts.
I know it's very loaded, so we don't have to go
Very
too.
loaded.
We don't have to go too far into it. But what do you think?
Well, I'll give it to you, and this comes from a 30-year educator, a parent, and I believe, and I know I'm going to step on some toes, put it in the comments. I will apologize to you personally.
He's a veteran.
I just believe what I believe. These are my experiences, and I'm just sharing them.
Say what your chest talked about.
But I believe we as a society have failed ourselves. We make guns too readily available to everyone. And we just can't do that.
Yeah.
I respect the Second Amendment. I do. I grew up in rural Mississippi where much of the meat that we ate came because we went hunting. And everyone in the house had to do their part to put food on the table. So I understand the importance of having certain guns in the house and using them for that purpose. But now in our society, we don't have that. We not as prevalent. And not everybody needs to have guns now. So let us not confuse rights with, let us not confuse the right to own a gun with the right to be safe, especially at school. Please don't buy your students weapons. They're not ready for
assault rifles.
They're of any kind. Don't buy them assault rifles. Don't buy them shotguns, pistols, knives. Don't do it. Do not buy your kids weapons.
Oh, Lord.
I had a machete pulled on me in school.
A machete?
Yes, I did.
A machete?
A machete.
And you know what?
And a 30.
Oh, Lord.
But that was here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But now, please don't buy your students weapons. If you just want to buy them something, just get them a go-kart, an electric scooter.
Yeah.
Don't buy them
Or
weapons.
understand that in doing so, you are taking on the responsibility and may have to
Yeah.
face
Yeah, and that's the
litigation,
thing.
criminal charges yourself.
Yeah.
And it's
Which
interesting.
I like that.
Me too.
It's interesting that you say you're taking on. That's your kid. You already have it.
Yeah.
You're responsible.
You're accountable.
Yes.
But the judgment is lacking. It's like, what would make you think that if anything were to happen with this particular young man in Appalachia, his father, I'm so like blown away that happened.
Yep.
Not only did you put a weapon in the hands of a child, but there was all this lead up to that all signs, the red flags were like blind as a bat red. Like, what would make you? And so it's like the judgment on the part of a lot of these parents is lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And
you
just
can be a parent, even though a lot of people are.
He threw a live grenade into that school.
Yeah.
Not figuratively speaking.
Yeah.
That's what the father did. Yeah, that's what the father did, like in essence, and so I fully stand behind him being prosecuted as well.
Oh, for sure.
It's just, what are you thinking? You're not thinking.
And
for the U.S., we pride ourselves on freedom, right? As opposed to a lot of other countries, we're just so free. But a lot of that freedom causes imprisonment. Like, we're so free.
It's not without responsibility. That's the thing.
Right, but that's the thing. But sometimes we're good about that.
Yeah.
A lot of freedom with no responsibility.
And Doc, I'll say this.
So they ever say things to their own hands. That's a whole other situation.
Yeah, it is.
That's imprisonment, though, to me.
And in the military, we like to say freedom isn't free.
Absolutely.
We pay for that. So if you want the freedom to just have guns willy-nilly and give them to kids, then you got to know we're going to pay for that on the other hand through school shootings, accidental kid shootings, people getting shot over anything. Yes.
Right.
All kinds of stuff.
Intentionally shooting up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, there's a cost to that freedom.
And the last week they did that, a white guy, long with a goatee, he shot up somewhere. He was shooting on the freeway. That's what it was.
Oh my God.
That was driving by.
See, with every freedom that we have, there's a price to pay.
But yeah, he was shooting up people. Yeah, and this is just shooting people arbitrarily.
With every freedom, there's a cost. Freedom isn't free.
Freedom is not free.
Freedom isn't free. So just keep that in mind. And in a lot of other countries, they don't have that access to weapons, and you don't see school shootings.
Well, think about that. Even here, like, if you're a felon, you can't own a gun, right? So I guess we put that in place because we're saying, hey, people that have shown a prior history of violence or whatever, we can't trust them in the future. But you're trusting everybody with mental illnesses. You're just trusting everybody all willy-nilly. We can't just tell the felons they can have a gun. There should be a full process to have these guns. And then again, we got to regulate which type of guns you can have.
Yeah.
How is he able to buy him that type? It's not a gun illegal.
Why would anyone know? Well, if they're not fully automatic, then no.
Was it not fully automatic?
No, it was an assault rifle that was semi-automatic. But even with that, they shouldn't have it.
Right.
Assault rifle. You can't even tell me that that's for hunting. No. Assault rifle is for assault. The purpose is in the name. The purpose is in the name. It's an assault rifle. Why buy that for a 12-year-old kid? That makes no sense.
And I'll go back to this for me. With that, school shooting, all of that.
That's another problem.
And that's when we go back to, is it foolproof? Can we prevent it? Maybe not 100%, but we can well up in the 90s. If you just think about all your points of entry, you think about everything that is brought in, and if you understand how everybody gets in, those are the things you can lock down. If you can lock those down, then you can prevent much more than what we're doing.
But here's something to think about, though. Right now, if you turn on the news, you're subject to hear something about Russia and Ukraine. Russia has been in some war or in threat of a war all my life. All they do over there is fight. If you watch the news, all they do is fight. We have more school shootings here in America than they do in Russia. What? What's wrong with that picture?
It's about the guns.
What's wrong with that
It's all
picture?
about guns.
Yes, the difference is
And then not to say that in other
they don't make
countries,
guns
people
available to
with
people
weapons
like
that
that.
shouldn't have them,
Right.
like the militias and different things like they do. We know about all that. But yet and still, they don't have these school shootings.
They don't, because they don't let everybody have guns.
And even if it's a lot of adults who shouldn't have them, there's not a lot of kids who shouldn't.
Right.
But we have a lot of kids who shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our problem, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you all for this very important conversation and timely conversation around school violence and handed out to workplace violence or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I've learned so much today from you all.
Oh,
Yeah, I really have, and it's been an interesting conversation. I've been some of it's riled me up, but mostly I'm walking away with a lot of reassurance about all that schools and leaders are doing to keep our children safe and the other individuals who are in those buildings to protect our students. So thank you all. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the conversation. And
and there, just one more thing I want to add. There, what I like about Safe to Tell.
Yeah.
Now they abuse that too.
They do abuse it.
Because kids will get on there and they will lie, but Safe to Tell is automatically triggered. So basically, it goes straight to our district, and then from there, immediately we're notified when someone at our school is saying it's a threat. So they get to talk about something that's happening to them with another student, with a staff member, with admin. Like they can tell whatever they want to tell. And they'll just sift through it and figure out if it's true or not. But there's a lot of safety in that. There's a lot of anonymity. So if you have a kid, and you won't even know who it was. Well, eventually we find out, but it's not like information that we give out. You know what I mean? But they're able to say whatever, whenever. So that little mechanism, that platform, they can tell. I think it's
And for those who don't know what Safe to Tell is, it's basically it's a platform set up so that kids can report whatever they need.
It could be
report.
something's going on at home.
Yeah.
It could be something's going on in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Anything they'll let you know it's safe to tell whatever you need
whatever,
to tell. And once they're told that, we send it down the pipeline of whoever needs to be taken care of.
And we go to
from
work
law
on
enforcement to counselors to whatever, to the parents, to the community. If you say something's going on, like they say, see something, say something, we figure out who needs to handle it and we make sure it gets handled. So that kid knows that they got the entire community as well as the school system to make sure that they stay safe. So you can tell whatever and we'll figure out who needs to handle it.
Yeah. So that platform has a free number that kids can call. And in a lot of places, they also have a free email that the kids can send an email to. And they can do it anonymously.
Yeah,
they can call. They can say whatever. From anything from, I heard a kid's going to be at our school to try to shoot it up
so
today.
I'm at home and somebody touched me improperly.
I got touched improperly by my uncle or my neighbor.
Anything. Whatever.
Yeah. So if there's a threat of any kind for a kid, it's safe to call this particular number and they won't be judged.
A lot of them, that was happening a lot. I'm feeling like I want to kill myself. And that's another thing too, because even with our internet service that we have with the kids and the emails and how they use our internet to Google and stuff like that, we would get those alerts, right? And the alert would be like, oh, they're watching a video that has sexual conduct, and we'll have to contact that kid like, listen, cut your internet off or cut our platform off if you could, we would get those alerts too. All those things help as well. So we have a kid on there Googling something about guns or school shootings, watching videos about it. We know about it because we get that alert, and then as admin, we have to figure out. So we have it set up. We have a schedule on who's on call and who's not. So during the week, you're on call all night, and if you get that alert, you respond that night at that time. If say 9 o'clock, somebody get in there, somebody want to commit suicide. If you're up that night, you're up, and you need to handle it. You need to call them, call their house, make sure they say, call the police. So we have that in place as well, which that'll help us.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody don't have that, but that's
something. Thank y'all. Thank you again for this very important conversation. We can make the transition now. This has been Doctored Up. And we thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe sharing comments what your feedback is on what you've heard today. We'd love to hear what you have to say and any of your thoughts around this particular topic or something else maybe that you have questions about.
And if we didn't cover it, we could probably cover it in the part two.
Absolutely.
So let us know if there's any